everyone. Welcome to the Tennessee Nursing Home Pain Management and Opioid Safety Collaborative. This is the last of 3 training sessions you will be participating in. In this session, we will go over different tools you will use for this project, including your team, comfort menus, assessing pain, and aligning with regulations. My name is Amanda Ryan, and I am the Clinical Pharmacy Specialist here at QSource. I will be facilitating the training session along with my colleague, Sarah Sutherland, who is a Quality Improvement Advisor on our team. Please make sure that you have completed the pre-test prior to attending this training. Also, if you are reviewing this training as a group, make sure you have documented your name on a sign-in sheet to ensure that we have a list of people in attendance. During the session, we encourage you to pause and take a moment to discuss the content whenever you like. With that, I will turn it over to Sarah to begin your training.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, everyone. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is putting together your multidisciplinary team for this project. We'll talk about the role of the instructor, some others to include on your team, as well as touch on a little bit of the team steps. All right, so the role of the instructor at your facility. So each facility will have one person designated as an instructor who will be sort of the lead of the team. The responsibilities include to lead the project and facilitate the improvement efforts, train the staff on the team and any other staff at the facility on the new processes that you implement for pain management, collect and report data to QSource on a monthly basis, which we'll go over a little bit later in this session, and be the main point of contact for QSource during this project. Some others to consider including on your team are frontline staff. So frontline staff are imperative to any type of improvement projects. They are the eyes and ears at your facility and are a vital group to include on the team. Director of Nursing and Administrator, of course, are also good to have on the team. Pharmacists and medical directors. So this is one that sometimes people might not think about. And it's really important to have the pharmacist for drug knowledge, as well as the medical director and any other prescribers at your facility. Quality staff. So I'm sure most of you have a QAPI team. Those would be good to include, as well as residents and family members. It's really important sometimes when we're making changes at the facility that the residents and their family members have input on what you're providing to them. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how sometimes it's easy for facilities to forget some of these people to include on the team. Just recently, I worked with a facility where we were working on an infection prevention project, and I was asking them what departments might be good to include on the team. And one department that they didn't really think about was environmental service. Environmental service are a really great frontline staff to think about when you are doing one of these projects. And also in this project, because we're talking about providing comfort to your residents, and environmental service spends a lot of time in the room. So that's just kind of a way to think outside the box of who might be good to include when we're educating people and providing new processes for our residents. Team steps is just a way to think about how to have a strong functioning team. And I know you've probably talked about team steps when you've been doing your QAPI work, but developing a high functioning team is so important to actually sustain these improvements throughout the facility and over time. So it's important to have mutual support. So sort of breaking down those silos between different departments and making sure that everyone is supporting each other. Monitoring situations, so making sure that you've got eyes and ears on the facility at all times and everything that's going on. Good communication, good leadership. So when we're thinking of having support from the director of nursing, the administrator, and so they can help remove barriers when you run into them. And just having a good team structure that's multidisciplinary, like we just talked about, is really important for projects like this. So now that we talked about developing your team, now we're going to talk about comfort menus. So comfort menus are one of the most exciting pieces of this project, in my opinion. These are one way that you're going to increase access to your non-opioid pain management options. And so we're also going to show you a little bit about how to create this comfort menu. So a comfort menu has been around for a while in healthcare, but it's just recently started making its way into the long-term care facility. Johns Hopkins started, this is one of the first ones that we found and got the idea from. And we had our facilities in the first phase of this project add comfort menus, and it was a really great success. So this is just a way that you're going to increase access to non-opioid pain management options for your residents. So we've got to think about when residents are experiencing discomfort or pain, we don't always want to just prescribe an opioid for that or necessarily a medication at all. What are some things that we could think about first and give the resident options and choices when it comes to that? So that's sort of what a comfort menu is meant for. This is an example of a comfort menu that we created in the first phase of this project and that we can create for your facility. In this example, the comfort menu was broken down into sections. So you can see there's a sleep section, entertainment, feeling better, and things like that. And a lot of these items you're already using or providing at your facility, but you just maybe haven't thought about putting them on a menu like this and providing it to your residents. So this is just an example of what yours could look like. So we talked a little bit about how comfort menus are a benefit to residents, but also how can comfort menus benefit your facility? So a comfort menu is full of very minimal to no cost items. So like I mentioned before, you probably have a lot of these items at your facility already, or you could obtain them for very minimal cost. So really great benefit with minimal cost involved. You know, a lot of these items, like I said, you're already doing repositioning, providing ice packs, etc. You can provide this really easily to the residents. So we've seen some facilities that will put it at the bedside. So they'll laminate it and maybe just have it on the side table, or they'll post it above the bed or just somewhere really easily accessible right there. Some people will also post them throughout the facility. And so it just kind of is an easy way to start a discussion around some of the things that you offer. Some facilities have added it to the admission packet. So just printing out a copy and sticking it in the little packet that you provide to the family or the resident when they're admitted. And this comfort menu, it really helps with consistent messaging across the entire facility. So kind of like what I talked about before with the environmental service being part of this project. That's just one example of if the person comes in the room to maybe empty the trash or, you know, clean the restroom or whatever, they know about the comfort menu and they could easily grab something for the resident off of that menu since they're non-medication items. So that can really help with the resident getting more immediate comfort items provided to them too. You don't have to wait for the CNA or the nurse to get the item for them. Okay, so now that we talked about the comfort menu and some of the things that you can provide for pain management, now we're going to talk a little bit about assessing the resident's pain, because we definitely need to ensure that when we are providing these items or medications or whatever it is, that it's actually working and making a difference. And we can see that with these assessments. So we're going to talk a little bit about some assessments that can actually give you a little bit more information beyond the 0 to 10 pain scale. So we'll talk a little bit about the PEG scale. PEG stands for pain, enjoyment, and general activity. And then also we'll talk about the Pain Assessment in Advanced Dementia Scale, or PAINAD, which is good for residents with dementia or who might be nonverbal. So the PEG scale is, what's really nice about the PEG scale is it's a brief assessment. So it's going to give you more information than the 0 to 10 scale, but it's still a quick, short assessment that you can do during, you know, your busy day. So it's going to include, on top of the 0 to 10 pain question, it also includes pain-related functioning questions. So this can really help when, identifying how a pain is affecting this resident. So, some of us, we might report that we're having our pain is a 10, but we're still going and doing our general activities that we do every day. While others might be reporting a 3, but they're laying in bed and can't really do what they normally enjoy. So this scale is going to give you a little bit more of a well-rounded idea of how their pain is affecting them. We also have the pain assessment in advanced dementia scale. So this scale is going to be used more for residents who have dementia or are nonverbal and just aren't really able to answer the questions on the PEG scale. This is an observational scale. Some of you may already be using a version of this, but this is a really good way to be able to see if a resident is in pain when they're maybe not able to communicate that with you. So the 5 observations that we see on this scale are looking at the resident's breathing. Are they having negative vocalizations, so maybe moaning or groaning? What does their facial expression look like? Are they grimacing or anything like that? Are they relaxed? Body language, so are they tensing up or showing signs in their body of pain? And then how consolable are they? Are you able to sort of make them feel better when you console them or not? So this is a score that you'll score the resident based on these observations, and then that will tell you from 0 to 10 how severe their pain is. So this is a really good one to think about implementing, as well as the PEG scale. As you're implementing these different pain management options, you can keep an eye on these assessment scores to see how well or how not well your interventions are working. All right. So now that we've talked about some different things that you're going to implement during this project, we also want to share with you how this project can fulfill your QAPI requirements and how it also aligns with survey requirements. All right, so as most of you know, with QAPI came some requirements, and those include that you must have a quality assessment and assurance committee. So you probably have a QAPI team that's working on things like this. And also to have a QAPI plan in place, as well as perform at least one performance improvement project annually. So I wanted to touch on really quick here that we are aware that during this time of COVID-19 that CMS has relaxed some of the requirements and even put some of them on hold, including the QAPI PIP requirement. However, we want to keep in mind that CMS will definitely, in the near future, probably make these requirements active again. And so it's important to keep working on these things in the background so that when it does become a requirement again, you're prepared, you have everything ready to go, and you don't have to sort of scramble to get a project together. So just keep that in mind. All right, so how can this project fulfill the QAPI requirements for a performance improvement project, or PIP? So the requirements are, one, that it be data driven. So, they don't want you to just choose a project of your liking. They want it to be driven by data. And so for this project, we will gather baseline data, and it will tell us sort of where to go with the project moving forward. And we will complete data monthly to show trends. And so all of that is going to be included in this project that will meet that requirement for the QAPI PIP. Another requirement is that you choose a PIP based on a high risk, high volume, or problem prone area. And so, of course, we all know that pain management is definitely a high volume and problem prone area that comes with high risks at your facility. Another requirement is that it would promote sustained improvement. And so this project is really going to meet that requirement by implementing new processes at your facility, just like the comfort menu, for example, that are going to help you sustain this work over time. All right, so now let's get into a little bit of the survey requirements for pain management. So you can see on this slide the bullet points. The first bullet point is saying that your facility must ensure that pain management is provided to residents who require such services. So basically saying that you're going to have a person-centered plan, customized pain management for each resident. And so this project will definitely meet that with the assessments we've showed you, as well as documenting a specific indication and treating the resident based on that information. The next bullet point, as you can see, the resident's needs and goals, as well as the etiology, type, and severity of pain are relevant to developing the plan. And noted in bold there that while analgesics can reduce pain and enhance the quality of life, they don't necessarily address the underlying cause. So this goes back as well to that specific indication we talked about. And knowing the underlying cause of the resident's pain, and that you're not just treating all pain with an opioid, that we have other customized options in place based on that specific indication. On this slide, we're looking at a little bit of the guidance for surveyors. So, this is going to show you that this is what surveyors are looking for, and that this project is going to help you meet those requirements. The first bullet there you can see is that to address and treat the underlying cause of the pain to the extent possible. So it's what we just talked about, knowing the underlying cause, customizing a treatment for it. Developing and implementing both non-pharmacological and pharmacological interventions or approaches to pain management. So the comfort menu is a great option for this. So having those non-medication treatments available, as well as you're also offering medication when it's appropriate. Identify and use specific strategies for preventing or minimizing different levels or sources of pain or pain symptoms. So pertinent to the resident's goals, using their pain medications judiciously to balance the resident's desired level of pain relief with avoidance of adverse consequences. So going back to looking at that risk versus benefit of what pain treatments you have in place. That's going to help with this bullet here. And it's important that a resident be monitored for the presence of pain and evaluated when there's a change in condition or when new pain is suspected. So this goes back to what Amanda was talking about with, it's really important to know the location of the pain, because that way it's really easy for you when you're doing your assessment and you identify a new pain, it's going to be more easily identified when you have that original location. So that will help meet that survey requirement as well. All right, so what are some next steps? So for you, next steps after this training are to complete your post-test for this session, for session 3. And then you're going to schedule a check-in call with QSource within 2 weeks of completing this training. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And then also you're going to share this training with staff at your facility. So we are going to provide you a binder with all of this training materials included, so you can utilize that. And you can also provide the link to these online trainings to any staff that you would like to take this training. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about the monthly data collection process, as well as what you can expect from the QSource team going forward. Okay, so like we said, please complete your post-test as soon as you finish this training. So you should have done a pre-test before you did any of these sessions, and then you're going to do a post-test for each session. So hopefully you've already done 1 and 2, and you'll just need to complete the 3rd one after this. And then QSource is going to reach out to you. So it'll probably be Amanda and I, or a couple of other members of our team potentially could be reaching out to you to contact you and schedule your follow-up call. So we want to have a follow-up call to give you a chance to ask questions about this training, or if there's any part of it that you want us to go into a little bit more depth with you on, we can do that as well. And we want it to be fresh on your mind, so within 2 weeks is preferable. And if you don't hear from us, or if you want to contact us before you do, you can reach out to us at this nhassist@qsource.org email address, and we can get you scheduled as soon as possible. All right, so next steps as far as this project goes. Now, I want to say, first of all, try not to feel overwhelmed. I know this is a lot of information that we've gone over during these training sessions, but we've provided lots of tools and resources for you, and we are always here for you for whatever you need. So keep in mind, when I go over this project timeline with you, we're going to be here to walk you through it. We've also created a project framework document that is a step-by-step process of what you need to do to complete this project. So that will be a really useful tool for you. Also, I want to encourage you to start small. If you are feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to start with maybe one unit at your facility, or only focus on short stay, or only focus on long stay, or however you want to do it. Customize it to your facility. That's totally appropriate. So before April of 2021, before the end of April 2021, we will have a check-in call with you after this training. We will provide at least 2 virtual or on-site follow-up visits for your facility. So, we'll kind of assess that as we go. We'll continue to do virtual if that's what's best, or if it gets to a point where we can come and do in-person visits with you, we would love that too. We will hold at least 3 group virtual check-in meetings. So we want to have QSource as well as your team get together and check in and discuss kind of how the project's going. By the end of the month for the next 6 months, you are going to submit data to us. So each month, by the end of the month, we'll have one data form that you'll have to complete, and I'll go over that with you in just a minute. And we will make sure that you understand, when different things are coming due, we'll help you with that. And then in late May or early June of 2021, we're going to be holding a virtual outcomes congress so that we can go over all the great successes of the project with all of the participating facilities. And so we would want at least one representative from your team to be on that call as well. All right, so really quick, let me show you the data entry form. So your facility, your instructor for this project, so your team lead, is probably going to be the one that's going to be entering this data. However, it doesn't absolutely have to be. So I wanted to make sure and show everybody so you could see how easy it is. So I'm going to do a really quick demonstration of what it looks like. We've also created a tip sheet for you that walks you through exactly how to do this. So when you click on that hyperlink, we'll also send you links to this, so no worries. It's going to open up this form online on your computer that you can fill out. So you're going to enter your facility name here, your CMS certification number. So if you're not aware of what this number is, we will provide it to you. It starts with 445. So I'm just going to make up one, 6 digits. And then the name of the person submitting the data. And that just helps us know who to reach out to in case we see that maybe something was entered incorrectly or something like that. Okay, so you're going to enter the number of non-medication options offered for pain at your facility. This is going to be everything that you offer that's non-medication. So when we develop a comfort menu for you, you're going to count every item that's on there. But let's just say we're doing baseline, and right now you've only got, let's say, 5 things. So, heat, cold, extra pillows, things like that. And then number 2, you're going to do the number of residents with an opioid order in your facility. So you're going to look at the total number of residents at your facility on this day when you're entering the data that have an order for an opioid. Okay, so we'll just say 20. That's probably a super low number, right? But and then what your total census is for today. So we'll just say 80. We got a fairly smaller facility here. All right, now we're going to scroll on down. Now for this section, each time you do your data each month, you're going to choose 5 residents with opioid orders for these next questions. So if you decided to start small in your facility and you only are working with one unit, then you would randomly choose 5 residents from that unit. If you're working with the whole facility, it could be anybody from the whole facility that has an opioid order. Each time you do your data, so next month when you do your data, you can choose a different 5 residents. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. Just a random 5 residents to choose for these questions. Now, remember, we're excluding hospice, end of life, and active cancer treatment when we're doing this project. So don't include any of those residents in this portion of the data, okay? All right, so for resident number 1, we're going to look at the opioid indication. So let's just say you're probably going to see a lot of this in the beginning, chronic pain, and that's okay. That's what you've got. That's what's documented in the chart. Now, as we go through the project, we're hoping that, those indications are going to change to something like, left hip fracture, right? Okay, so you're going to put that in that section there. Then you're going to do a PEG assessment on this resident. And then for each score, you're going to choose the number. So how is their pain 0 to 10? We'll say they said 7. And then enjoyment of life, we're still enjoying life okay, so we're going to say 6. General activity, we're not doing so well with that. We'll say 3. And so here, what you're going to do is you're going to add up, oh goodness, I didn't expect to have to do math on this today. So you're going to add up the total of the 3 scores. So 7 plus 6 plus 3 equals 16. And then you're going to divide 16 by 3, which will give you 5.3. That's going to be your score. So you are going to have to type out, you're going to have to do a little of the math there like I just did. All right, and then you're going to do the exact same for residents 2 through 5. I'm just going to skip over those. And then that's it, you're done. So at the end, I highly recommend that you click this, send me a copy of my responses, and you type in your email address there, because for whatever reason, if for some reason it didn't come through to us when you click submit, that way you would have it in your email. So, if I reach out to you and say, hey, I didn't get your data for last month, you could say, oh, I entered it, here it is, and you could just forward it to me like that. Highly recommend that. So then at the end, you're just going to click submit, and it will automatically come to us at QSource. All right, so that is entering the data. So now I'm going to go back to the presentation. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, and she's going to talk about some of the expected goals and successes for this project.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So last time we talked about the results that we were able to see from our phase 1 facilities. So some of this is going to look a little familiar to you, but we wanted to show you what we were really shooting for with all of the facilities that are going to be participating in this phase of the project. So very first thing you see up there on the top left is increase in pain management knowledge. So that's why we're asking for pre-test and post-tests from everybody that participates in the training, because we want to see how much knowledge you had at the beginning and then how much knowledge you had after the training. And we also want to know the places where maybe we didn't do such a good job explaining some of the key points. So we're hoping to see a 25% increase in the pain management knowledge, and then also be able to come back to you when we have some of our follow-up calls and really get into some of the things that maybe we need to provide more information to you about. Second thing is increase in non-opioid pain treatment. So increase in 25% there as well. That will largely be through your comfort menu, but there are also other ways to increase access to these treatments. So we can talk about some of those other options too. Next is a 15% increase in specific indications. We actually blew that one out of the water with phase 1. So we're really cheering for you all to be able to exceed that 15%, but we'll work with you on checklists and other types of interventions that we can put in place that will focus on that. Next is at least 50% of participating homes utilizing their comfort menu. Once again, we hope we can get even closer to 100%, but we will be working with you on getting those comfort menus in place to support that goal. Next is to look at opioid use. So as Sarah mentioned before, we're not necessarily going into this project to say we really want to decrease opioid utilization. What we want to do is make sure we're utilizing opioids when they're appropriate. So what we saw in the first phase was exactly a 5% reduction. And that was because we really got into some of the specific indications and we discovered that some residents really did no longer need their opioids. So when that's appropriate and when that's the case, we would like to see that happen, and that's where that 5% goal comes from. And then finally, a 5% increase in pain management satisfaction. That's why we're asking for PEG scores in the data. So we'll utilize those PEG scores, we'll follow that trend over time, and then we will be able to determine from those scores how the satisfaction with pain management is trending with your residents. And then as an aside, with all of these goals, we really wanted to take a second to acknowledge what's happening in the world around us. We know that COVID-19 is really consuming so much time, so many resources, and is really a focus of a lot of what is happening in long-term care facilities. We want to let you know that we're here for you at QSource. If you need help with related COVID-19 issues, please let us know. We're always happy to provide information and support you with that. We also want to point out that there is a great deal of overlap between what's happening with residents related to perhaps social isolation due to keeping them safe from COVID, and depression and loneliness that might come along with that. Pain is very closely tied to all of those potential negative effects that we're having when we're trying to protect our residents from COVID. So we can use a comfort menu not only to treat pain and to help mitigate some of those issues, but also to directly help them cope with some of these things they're having to deal with COVID. We want to make residents more comfortable, and it doesn't have to be just with pain. We've got a facility that's actually using the comfort menu for insomnia. It can be applied to a lot of different things. So we hope that through this project, we can support you not only with the goals that you see on the screen, but also with what's going on in the world around us and really help you and help our residents be as healthy and safe as they can be. References for this material are available here on this slide of the presentation, and we hope you have enjoyed this training and look forward to working with each and every one of you on this project. Thanks so much for attending.